Yeah, yeah, look at you. Look. Taylor Frankie Paul is officially unemployed. Let's go. So this young lady is Taylor Frankie Paul. She is a rich. Taylor became famous by making TikTok videos during COVID in 2020 with her girlfriends, and her friend group were there. She's no stranger to controversy. She was a part of a swinging controversy, and she divorced from her first husband, Tate Paul. She then hooked up with baby daddy Dakota Mortensen, had a baby with him, and got arrested in 2023 for a domestic violence situation. Star of the show, she ended up getting in some domestic violence trouble. Uh, in the video, she's assaulting a gentleman in the clip, and it's bad. It's really bad. And they just say, you know what, we can't put this show out there. You know, yeah, we're about to lose a lot of money on it, but what she just did here, on top of already having a history of domestic violence, yeah, we're just gonna have to cut this. So, um, I don't know if you are familiar with the show, her or any of the story, but I figured you could give a different perspective. Um, First of all, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Just hanging out. Both my kids had the dentist this morning, so now they're asleep. Um, but other than that, I've just kind of been chilling and cleaning the house, the usual stuff. Um, I have never watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Um, the only things I know of it are because my classmates in middle school were obsessed with that show. And so they would come to school talking about each episode. And one of the teachers watched also. And so she would talk about it in class with everyone as well. So even though I don't know much about the show, I still at least know what the show is, like what the premise is and what the vibe is like. um, but I, in regards to the topic itself, it makes sense that they would close it down because of her. Um, with how it is nowadays, people get canceled for a lot now. They don't want that behavior to be connected to the image of the TV show. So even though it was a lucrative business, it was probably one of those like cut your losses, cancel the show. We find something else to do that isn't associated with the person that was being violent. So it would make sense that they canceled the whole show. I know they did that to Chris Hansen's show as well. Different reasons, but still. Um, so yeah, I think it's unfortunate, if an unfortunate example of what happens when you one are not a very nice person in your relationship, and when you allow that to dictate how you behave. I'm not sure if this was an in the house experience or something that she had been witnessed doing, but not smart. If you're in that industry, not smart.
We don't talk about domestic violence enough, especially with women putting their hands on men. Like, I don't know what the dynamics of her household is like, but for her to have already had a history of this should have already been a red flag, especially for me personally. If I'm running a business and
I have a reputation to uphold, a brand to protect. I want you guys to enjoy the content that I'm putting out or the material I'm distributing through different stores or wherever me. I can't have you putting a stain on my last name because of your inability to control yourself. You have these wild impulses and this entitlement because I don't understand why you feel the need in any situation to put your hands on another human being unless you're defending yourself. You have no excuse. But in this case, she is just days away, days away from. I guess this is a pretty big deal for a lot of people. They prepared. They waiting for the show. They excited, and then this happened, and it's like, what's been going on leading up to this? And I say this all the time. Y'all keep on worshiping and idolizing these people. You see one thing on screen, they got all this makeup on, the fancy dresses, the sparkling lights, all the attentions and cameras are on them. They give you the Miss Pageant smile, but off screen, they look like they done stood in the rain for straight. Their clothes is a mess, their hair is a mess, their countenance is a mess, and they don't look nothing like what you see on television. It's like, damn, got me again. How many times you got to be fooled by these people? They're just humans, just like you and me. So I feel like I put a lot of blame on the company for bringing her back. Um, there's so many different things I want to address here. I just want to say, like, this could have been prevented still. It didn't have to get this far. And you didn't have to lose out on this money. You didn't. And a part of me is like, well, did y'all already know she had this history? And if you knew she had this history, why would you risk bringing her back, knowing that this could happen again? Are you?
Has she so you said why'd they bring her back? So she's been canceled before, or she just had committed this crime before and was able to come back?
Well, I'm assuming that she's not a new face. I'm just assuming. Like I said, I don't know who she is. I never watched her a day in my life. I never watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I can't stand them shows, but they're entertaining for people. My thing is, just like anybody else on any other platform, rap, whatever the situation is, if you got something going on with you, if it got anything to do with abuse, you get canceled or you get met with some type of scrutiny, depending on who you are. Some people get protected more than others, but you definitely not coming back. I'm not about. Will Smith is one of like 4 or 5 other people who are no longer invited to an award show. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all seen the history, so you said, nah, we can't have this here. That's what I'm talking about. Why would you even bring her back knowing what you know about her? That's bad business to me.
I wonder if to a degree they're still doing it partially for the attention. If they, for example, like news media is famous for this, where they are talking about a certain issue or news story, and they bring the same person back over and over, especially if it's like a really dramatic event or whatever. They always bring in these experts that can like effectively fearmonger and whatever because it gets them more ratings. People like things that are really dramatic, so it makes me wonder if they haven't completely dropped her yet because she could be lucrative in some way. I know how these companies like to take advantage of people and overlook, like, unless there's a super solid line drawn in terms of their behavior and our interest in those people, they might try and revive that individual if they were previously lucrative because, well, profit. They can, I mean, I'm sure a lot of those people in higher up positions also probably behave the same way. So I think it is partially ironic that they'd be happy canceling somebody to appease the public, but they're also simultaneously the same types of people. And again, that's just my speculation. I don't really know any of these people involved. But just knowing the all powerful and how they are and all this stuff coming out just in every arena of like celebrities and politicians, priests, religious leaders, like all sorts of people are being exposed as abusive individuals or otherwise. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprising to me if profit still was coming first in some ways. But I honestly think that if you commit a crime like that, if you commit violence against any person, you really shouldn't be allowed back to society like that because you can't be trusted, especially because most of the time in domestic violence, when one person tries to leave, the other person is significantly at higher risk of being killed. I was looking at these stats the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it's like 70% or 80% of domestic violence related murders are because the person tried to leave. I don't know what kind of person she was, because obviously there are different types of domestic abuse. Berating a person constantly, like emotionally abusing them, insulting them, gaslighting, you name it. All those things are considered abuse, on top of obviously the physical abuse and abuse that can also happen in marriages. So I have no idea what her thing is, but just hazarding a guess, I'm guessing she's probably physically violent and verbally abusive, because that's most commonly what, like, if you go off profiles, what women act like. So that behavior is not going to be limited to just your spouse. So even workplaces should be cautious about allowing somebody who has a domestic violence charge in, because it's likely they will apply that to other people as well.
Deanne said, aren't there also news reports that during her violent episode she also accidentally hit a small child? Yeah, actually got the video. Um, that's the one I tried to play, but I don't want YouTube to try to strike me for it. She actually did. The child was right there as getting into it with the guy that was trying to get away from her. He's telling her, stop, 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 and he's recording it as he should. And it was a little girl, if I'm not mistaken, that was a witness to it. So yeah, she went off. It was bad. It was hard to watch. And I'm with you on that. Like that should be automatic. You should just be done. There's no conversating about that. Your brand deals, anybody that was sponsoring you, I see that. I'm automatically cutting ties with that. I don't want to be associated with you in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I don't know what the content or the context of the argument went. Me listening to him and how she was, I can tell just from that she has a history. She has a temper. Um, and I don't know how long he's been dealing with her, but put it this way. There's more situations or scenarios like that than people really know about, where women are actually aggressors in the relationship, co-parenting or whatever the case may be, and we don't see that. That's not what media wants to be painted. So when you actually see it for the first time, it's kind of weird. You're not used to it unless you're scrolling on certain websites where it's more frequently shown. You're not really going to pour into those concepts oftentimes. But I don't know where that stemmed from, that level of attitude stemmed from. I don't know if it's because you're just not used to being disciplined or held accountable. So the more that you're not held accountable, you build this immune or invisibility cloak around you where you feel like you can just walk around and treat people the way you want and do things how you want. But if this doesn't stop her and put her in her place where she's humbled and she has to get some serious help for this, I don't know what else will, especially since she did this in front of a kid.
Generally, this isn't the case all the time because there are always exceptions. But generally, domestic abuse occurs because somebody was either exposed to domestic violence themselves in a past relationship, or they were subjected to either abuse directly from their parents or witnessed the domestic violence between their parents. So, or the person has a mental illness or a personality disorder that makes it harder for them to interact with other people. You can also get domestic violence out of somebody being raised improperly or like having an unstable household, so they developed like erratic behavior or habits. But yeah, a lot of the time it's because they've witnessed that type of behavior themselves, or it was just kind of like what you said, never corrected when they were younger and they grew up with these maladaptive traits. And often people who are abusive based on like psychological profiles, they are highly manipulative. They're typically they have control issues. They also have more of like a dominating personality, where they might feel the need to enforce their power on other people. So this is also kind of why I said it can show up in workplaces as well. They also tend to have a quick temper or a deep anger. And then what was the last bit? They also tend to not handle their own emotions effectively. When they experience their emotions, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to respond appropriately, and will either completely ignore their thoughts and act irrationally, or they will